Welcome back to Navigating the Streams. I'm Mike DeLong, and I've gathered all the new movies coming to your streaming services in one place so you don't have to. I've got what's coming out this month, which, for the second month in a row, isn't that much to get excited about. Also, I've got an update on where to find the Oscar-nominated movies, and a look back to see if I missed anything in February. Without further ado, let's see what's coming out in March. First up is Netflix. On the 3rd, we have a comedy special from Bruce called I Ain't Playin', and on the 4th, a French drama called Street Flow 3. On the 5th, the Japanese horror sequel Remember the Last Night comes out. After 3 years of playing a deadly game, scholars trapped in a living nightmare must unravel a curse. On the 6th, the Turkish thriller TikTok Killer comes out. And also on the 6th, Strangers in the Park. It's an Argentinian dramedy where two men from different belief structures meet on a park bench every week and find common ground. There's one more movie on the 6th, the sci-fi thriller War Machine. As Special Ops Boot Camp comes to a close, the new recruits are attacked by an army from another world. On the 7th, we probably have a movie that most of us have heard about, Downton Abbey, the grand finale. The Crawleys must embrace change in the midst of financial trouble and Mary's scandal. On the 11th, Louis Theroux, Inside the Manosphere comes out. It's a documentary exploring the ultra-masculine network and its toxic influencers. On the 14th, the action comedy sequel Nobody 2 with Bob Odenkirk comes to Netflix after being on Peacock. On the 16th, we have another documentary, The Plastic Detox. 6 couples reduce their exposure to plastics in the hopes that it will help them conceive. On the 20th, we have another TV adaptation, Peaky Blinders, The Immortal Man. We'll find out what happens to Cillian Murphy's character and the rest of your favorites during World War II. Also on the 20th, The Rise of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Our Brother Hillel. We'll take a look at the early days of the band with original guitarist Hillel Slovak, who died in 1988. On the 21st, the animated sequel Bad Guys 2 comes to Netflix after being on Peacock. On the 26th, the Spanish drama 53 Sundays comes out. 3 brothers come together to discuss what to do with their 80-year-old father, whose strange behavior is becoming concerning. On the 27th, BTS The Return comes out. It's a documentary following the band coming together after their required military service, leading up to their live show on Netflix on the 21st. And finally, on the 28th, Anemone. Daniel Day-Lewis is back on screen as a hermit whose brother comes to reconnect with him despite their complicated past. There were a few things that I missed on Netflix last month, including the Oscar-nominated Blue Moon, East of Wall, 4 Letters of Love, and a comedy special by Cat Williams called The Last Report. I've got one quick recommendation from a few years ago. The movie Blackberry was surprisingly good for a movie about the rise and fall of the original smartphone. Next up is our Oscar update. As I said, Blue Moon, which is nominated for Best Actor, is on Netflix. We have a few movies that are available to rent or buy, including The Voice of Hind Rajab, Marty Supreme, The Secret Agent, Zootopia 2, Arco, Mr. Nobody Against Putin, and Song Sung Blue. Kokuhu, nominated for Best Makeup, Cutting Through Rocks, nominated for Best Documentary, and all the nominated shorts are available in theaters now. Next up is Hulu. On the 1st, we have Buen Salvaje, a short Spanish thriller. On the 6th, the Western thriller Killing Faith comes out. A doctor escorts a freed slave and her daughter to a faith healer because everything her daughter touches dies almost instantly. On the 17th, the coming-of-age drama Hot Milk comes out. A woman with a strange illness travels with her young adult daughter to find a cure, but the daughter discovers a world that her mother kept from her. On the 20th, King Ivory comes out. It's a dramatic look at fentanyl trafficking and the effect that it has on all walks of life. On the 28th, we have the horror thriller Dangerous Animals. A surfer must escape a shark-obsessed serial killer while being trapped on his boat. And finally, on the 31st, the movie that I'm probably most excited to see this month comes out. It's called House on Eden, It's a horror movie where paranormal investigators encounter an evil spirit in a house in the woods. This one is written, directed, and starring YouTuber Chris Collins from the channel Call Me Chris. There were a couple of movies that I missed on Hulu last month. Rental Family, which some people thought was going to be an awards player this year, but ultimately didn't make the cut. The extremely disappointing Ella McKay, and Predator Badlands, which I thought was another great addition to the series. A few recommendations that are coming out on Hulu this month: Birdman, which I really enjoyed when it came out. Fight Club, The Descendants, not the Disney musical, this is the one with George Clooney. And Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. HBO Max is next. On the 6th, we have Fackham Hall. It's a British satirical comedy where a wealthy family needs to deal with the disaster of a wedding, while a new porter forms an odd bond with the family's youngest daughter. On the 10th, Fukushima, A Nuclear Nightmare comes out. It's a documentary that calls itself the definitive account of Japan's struggle to manage a nuclear disaster and recovery from the earthquake and tsunami that caused it. And finally, on the 27th, Ballerina, the action movie from the world of John Wick, where a professional assassin goes rogue for a personal vendetta. A few recommendations from HBO include All the President's Men, one of the Best Picture nominees from 1976 that I'll be watching at some point this year. Memento, which is still quite possibly my favorite Christopher Nolan movie. And a movie that just hit me at the right time, V for Vendetta. If you're enjoying this video, please like and subscribe. Share it on your socials so your friends don't miss out on any new movies. Amazon Prime is next. On the 5th, we have Subadar. It's a Hindi action movie where a man who used to fight for his country must now protect his family from enemies within. It looks a lot better than it sounds. And on the 25th, we have the action thriller Pretty Lethal. A group of ballerinas must escape from a remote inn after their bus breaks down on the way to a dance competition. Up next is Peacock. On the 13th, It's Dorothy comes out. It's a documentary that examines the cultural relevance of Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz 125 years after the release of the book. On the 20th, Wicked for Good is released. It's the disappointing conclusion to the hit musical Wicked, released in 3 versions: theatrical cut, sing-along, and with director's commentary. And finally, on the 27th, we have another public domain horror movie, Bambi the Reckoning. Bambi is taking his revenge on the whole human race for the death of his mother. We've got a couple of Peacock recommendations for you. First, Death Becomes Her. Second, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. And The Wild Robot. Paramount Plus is up with 2 releases. On the 6th, The Pink Pill, Sex, Drugs, and Who Has Control. It's a documentary about healthcare equality while bodily autonomy hangs in the balance. And on the 26th, Trust. An actress tries to hide in a remote location only to find herself betrayed. One thing I missed on Paramount Plus last month is SpongeBob: The Search for SquarePants. And one quick thing on Disney Plus, on the 8th, Ghost Elephants comes out. It's a documentary that follows a very small herd of elephants in Angola that live in secret. That's all we have for this month. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this streaming video. Was there anything coming out this month that excites you? Let me know in the comments. Hopefully next month will be better. I'll be watching all 10 Best Picture nominees in theaters on March 7th and 14th, so stay tuned for some off-the-cuff reviews. My next full video will be a review roundup of everything I watched in February. Thanks, and I'll see you again soon.